Good morning students, welcome back to English 1 class today. So today we'll be continuing with Bepin Choudhury's lapse of memory. So far we have done about him getting very worried about his memory. He thinks that he is going crazy, going nuts. So we'll see today what happens in the next portion of part 2. We're still in part 2. Today I will complete part 2 and a recap of what we have done so far I have given in the upcoming video. So you can watch that and then please watch the video till the end. And there's no homework for today. All the best for your test. Hopefully you did well today also. Continue watching the video. So in the last class we had done about Bepin Babu thinking back or trying to recall whether he had ever had a fall as a boy when he was a boy and whether he had ever cut his knee. And to his disappointment he couldn't remember. Then he thought about Dinesh Mukherjee because Parimal Ghosh had told him that he had met Dinesh Mukherjee in Ranchi. So he lived very nearby. He thought that he could go and ask him. But then suddenly he thought that if he had asked Dinesh Mukherjee about himself, that whether he had gone to Ranchi and all, Dinesh Mukherjee would think it otherwise and think that he had become mad. He was going nuts, that Bepin Babu was going mad. Dinesh Babu would think that, and then he thought to himself, no, it would be ridiculous to ask him. He said, no, I cannot ask him. So till there we had done in the last class. Let's continue today. And he knew how ruthless Dinesh's sarcasm could be. He knew how ruthless Dinesh Mukherjee would not think before saying anything. He was ruthless. Ruthless means very, he did not bother about other people's feelings. So he was very ruthless about Dinesh's sarcasm. Sarcasm, I think I have told you in the previous classes what sarcasm means. For example, if I've given you some homework and then you tell me, ma'am, where will I keep this copy? And I say, keep it on my head. So that would be a kind of sarcasm. Yes. So he was afraid of Dinesh's sarcasm. Sipping a cold drink in his air-conditioned living room, Bepin Babu felt at ease again. So in his living room, he was sitting where there was air condition and he was feeling quite cool. He was feeling at ease. He was feeling quite easy now. He was becoming less scared, thinking about all those things before. He was very nervous, thinking himself that he was going mad. Such a nuisance. It's a terrible thing to have happened, he thought to himself. Just because they have nothing else to do, they go about getting into other people's hair. Getting into other people's hair means interfering with other people. And he means to say that Parimal Ghosh has nothing to do, so he came to him and tried to interfere with his life and to annoy him, to make him angry. After dinner, snuggling in bed with one of the new thrillers, Bepin Babu forgot all about the man in New Market. So this was his favorite time, snuggling in bed. Snuggling means getting very comfortable in bed. He got into bed with one of his new books which he had bought, remember, from Kali Charan's, he had bought that day. So he got into bed with that new book, and for a while as he was reading, he forgot all about the man in New Market. The man was Parimal Ghosh. He forgot about him for the time that he was reading his book. He was immersed, he was deep into his book, and he forgot about the man. He was at ease. His mind was at ease again. He was feeling quite comfortable. Next day in the office, Bepin Babu noticed that with every passing hour, the previous day's encounter was occupying more and more of his mind. So the previous night he had quite forgotten about Parimal Ghosh as he was reading his book, but the next day in the office he noticed that he could not take his mind off the previous day's encounter. The encounter means the time that he met Parimal Ghosh in Kali Charan's. So he could not get that out of his mind. If the man knew so much about Bepin Babu, how could he make such a mistake about the Ranchi trip? So he thought, if the man knew so much about him, how could he make that mistake of forgetting about the Ranchi trip? Just before lunch, Bepin Babu decided to ring up Dinesh Mukherjee. So that was a solution, to ring up Dinesh Mukherjee and finish this topic once and for all. So just before lunch, he decided to call Dinesh Mukherjee. It was better to settle the question over the phone. At least the embarrassment on his face wouldn't show. So he thought to himself, it's better that I call him instead of going to his house, because Dinesh Mukherjee would notice that I was very, very embarrassed, ashamed for asking him such a question. So he thought it better to talk to him over the phone. 235616. What is this? What are these numbers? These are the numbers that he is dialing on his phone. Bepin Babu dialed the number. Hello, is that Dinesh? This is Bepin here. Well, what's the news? So already we can hear that sarcasm kind of voice that Dinesh Mukherjee spoke. When you say well, that is the way we say it. What's the news? He asked. Dinesh Mukherjee asked Bepin Babu over the phone. I just wanted to find out if you recalled an incident which took place in 58. So this is Bepin Babu's line. He says, I just wanted to find out if you remember an incident which took place in 58. 58 here means in 1958. Do you remember something that happened in 1958? He just asked. He did not ask him directly. He did not ask him that did I go to Ranchi in 58. He asked him, twisting the question. He said, do you recall an incident? Do you remember anything that happened in 1958? He asked him in this manner. 58? What incident? Dinesh Mukherjee said. Were you in Calcutta right through that year? That's the first thing I've got to know. See the word Calcutta. Now it is called Kolkata, but before it was called Calcutta. So then Bepin Babu asked Dinesh Mukherjee, were you in Calcutta right through that year? Right through that year means throughout the year, the whole year. That's the first thing I've got to know. That's the first thing I'm asking you, whether you were in Calcutta for the whole year in 58. Wait, just a minute. 58. Just let me check in my diary. That was Dinesh Mukherjee's reply. He said, 58. Just wait a minute. Let me check this in my diary. For a minute there was silence. Dinesh Mukherjee seemed to have gone to look in his diary as to where he was in 1958. Bepin Babu could feel that his heartbeat had gone up. He was sweating a little. Bepin Babu was very, very nervous because he had no idea what answer Dinesh Mukherjee was going to give him. So he became very nervous. And when you are nervous, your heartbeat also begins to go faster. So his heartbeat had gone up means his heart began to beat very, very fast, and he also began to sweat. And then Dinesh Mukherjee came back on the phone. Hello? Yes, I've got it. I'd been out twice, Dinesh Mukherjee said. Yes, I got it. I've been out twice. I'd means I had been. I'd, that is short form, contracted form of I had. So I'd been out twice. That means in 1958, he had gone out of station 2 times. Where? Bepin Babu asked him. Okay. Once in February, nearby to Krishnanagar, to a nephew's wedding. He said, I went in February once to a nearby place called Krishnanagar to a nephew's wedding. So Dinesh Mukherjee had gone to his nephew's wedding. And then, but you'd know about this one. The trip to Ranchi, you were there too, that's all. But what's all this sleuthing about? Then he said that, told Bepin Babu what Bepin Babu was dreading, was very, very scared. But then Dinesh Mukherjee said, yeah, I went out twice, once to Krishnanagar and the second time I went to, this you must be knowing about because you also were there, our trip to Ranchi, you were there too. That's all. But what's all this sleuthing about? Sleuthing means, the meaning is given there, investigating. What are you investigating? No, I just wanted to, anyway, thanks. And that's how Bepin Babu ended the conversation, the telephonic conversation with Dinesh Mukherjee, feeling absolutely disappointed, feeling absolutely scared. Scared because he thought that he was going nuts, he was going crazy, just like his brother. So he was scared about that. Okay. So look up the meanings of the words. Sleuthing means investigating. Bepin Babu slammed the receiver down and gripped his head with his hands. Bepin Babu slammed the receiver. So do you think he had a mobile phone with him? What would happen if you have to slam your mobile phone on the table or on the ground? Here he slammed the receiver means it is that olden kind of telephone, no, which we have, which BSNL gives us when we have a landline in the house. So that is the kind of receiver that we pick up and then we dial the number and then we put back on the stand. That old kind of telephone. So Bepin Babu slammed the receiver. He put the receiver down very hard and gripped his head, caught his head with his hands. He felt his head swimming, his head was reeling, his head was going round, he was feeling dizzy. A chill seemed to spread over his body. Suddenly he began to feel very, very chilly, very, very cold. Cold because that dreaded news was given to him by Dinesh Mukherjee. Even Dinesh Mukherjee was saying that he had been to Ranchi, that he, Bepin Babu, had been to Ranchi. And this sent a chill throughout his body. His body began to shiver. There were sandwiches in his tiffin box. So he was in the office. He had sandwiches for his tiffin, but he didn't eat them. He had lost his appetite. He did not feel like eating anymore. He had lost his appetite, means he had lost his hunger. He could not think of eating. This is what happened after he spoke to Dinesh Mukherjee. So I hope it is clear so far. Now here we have some comprehension check questions, but I do not want to give you any homework now because you are having your unit test. But these questions will come back to it after we complete our unit test. Okay, so you don't even have to look at that. If you have time, you just have a look, find the answers, so that when we have a class, you can give me the answers. Okay, so that's it for today. Have a good day and do your test well. Okay, so bye-bye, take care.